Again, my name is Eric Beasley. I am a graduate of Virginia Tech. I work as the operations manager at Suck Chiropractic Clinics. It's a regional group of chiropractic clinics here in the area. The farthest one being about an hour and a half in any direction you go, really. So we have 12 clinics. I've been there for about 2 years. And what brings me here to talk about time management and goal setting is, what I found was that I started to read about time management. I started to read about just personal development and ways that I could be a more productive and more efficient worker. And what I found out was I was pretty angry that nobody had told me these things when I was younger. So as I applied these things to my life, started to see great results, I decided that I was going to really immerse myself into learning about personal productivity, learning about time management, learning about these things so that I could stand in front of groups just like this one and present some of the ideas that I've applied to my life that have been really effective that I wish I would have known when I was sitting in chairs very similar to yours. So I definitely wouldn't say I'm a time management expert or anything like that, but it is something that I've just committed myself to learning more and more about and want to be able to present to other people about it. So I have this fun little app on my phone that is supposed to work the PowerPoint. We'll see if that works. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. All right. So about time management. So time management is a combination of words that I don't really like to use. And some of you were here for my presentation last time. Time management, there's not really a such thing as time management, right? Because you can't manage time. The clock just keeps moving. It just keeps ticking and ticking and ticking. We can observe time, but we can't actually manage time. So what I like to talk about is managing ourselves in time. So what does it look like when we're managing our tasks and managing our behaviors inside of the time that we have allotted to get things done? As you can tell, the presentation doesn't match with what I'm saying. So, all right. So one of the things that is that's very important inside of time management is making sure that you understand how time management works. And one of the things that has been kind of baffling me is the way I thought about time management, and then how I took the information that was coming into me and kind of put it across my calendar and manage my tasks and manage the things that I had to do. So let's see, here we go. Now it actually catches up. So we're back on the same page now. So one of the things I want to talk about is time demands. Time demands are any of those things that demand your time. And what happens is we get those in a lot of different capture points. So when you read time management materials, a lot of those materials, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 years old, aren't going to talk about a lot of the same capture points that you and I have today. So when we talk about capture points, think about the things that demand our time. Obviously get right? We get a lot of email, and we'll have our time commitments inside of our email. You can get a text message that'll have time demands inside of it. You can get a Twitter message, you can get a Facebook message, you can get a phone call, you can get a voicemail. So there are all these different inputs, all these different capture points that we get our time demands from. And what I realized was I was calendaring, I was trying to get all my appointments down, I had my planner out, all these things are going really well, but I wasn't getting all of my capture points and collecting all of my capture points into one location. And and I don't know if anybody else does this, but I do this, I used to do this rather, is use my email inbox as a to-do list. Has anybody ever done that? Yeah, you got your email, the emails come in, you're like, I need to deal with that, so I'm gonna leave it right there in the inbox where I can see it the next time I open my email. Nobody ever done? I'm the only person that did that. I've done it. So that's one of the things that I realized was that I was really missing the boat, that all of my capture points had to be collected into one specific place in order for me to manage my time effectively, or in order for me to manage myself inside of time effectively. So I realized that I was missing some of my capture points and I wasn't getting all my things down in the right place. And then outside of that, there's been research that shows that people who manage time well oftentimes over-allocate time for the tasks that they have. So you get a time demand, and if you think that it's going to take 20 minutes, you allot yourself 30 minutes, and then you try to get it done in the 20-minute time frame, right? So the other piece of the research showed that the people who are doing that, who are allotting extra time in for their time demands, are also people who are not aware when they are finishing tasks ahead of time. They're not aware when they're finishing tasks ahead of schedule. I know for me, before I really started immersing myself in time management and personal productivity, if I was going to finish a task ahead of schedule, then that meant it was time for me to take a break. So that gave me a little bit of leeway, a little bit of margin, like, well, it's not due to tomorrow. I probably go get some food now and then come back and finish this later. But again, that's probably something that just I did and nobody else did. But so those two habits of people who are effective in managing themselves in time. One, allotting yourself more time than what you think a task is going to take. Then secondly, making sure that when you are doing the task, if you're finishing ahead of schedule, that's a bonus. Let's finish ahead of schedule, and then you can use that time margin to tackle the next most important task. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and use it. There we go. All right, so this comes back to the core of what I talked about the last time I was here, and this is the 3 essential keys to managing yourself in time. The first one that we're going to discuss is organizing yourself. So organizing yourself means, it starts to talk about decluttering. In old time management books, it talks about having a clean workspace, having an orderly workspace, having a home for everything on your desk. But we don't really use our desk space as much as we use our computers, right? So when I think about organizing my desk space, I'm thinking about organizing what does the desktop of my laptop look like? What do my folders look like? You know, when I'm saving documents, when I'm saving things, where are they going? Do I have a system for those things? So that's one of the ways that we can get organized, along with actually cleaning up our space. One of the other ways that we can get organized is to think about, as we declutter, one of the things that I hope that you'll get from the presentation today is you'll get some takeaway things that you can apply today to your life. So something that we oftentimes don't realize is when we add something to our life, we only get a certain amount of time, right? There's 24 hours in a day. You got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to do other things. You get 24 hours inside the day. Whenever you add something to your life, that means something else has to come out. But what we try to do is we add things in without ever taking things out, and then our life, our time, our schedules get cluttered when we're not paying attention to priorities as well as posteriorities. So think about, if you add something from my presentation today to your life, there's also going to have to be something that comes out. So if you add a good habit today, let's think about what the bad habit is that's going to come out. I just made eye contact with Dr. McNabb, and so I want to make another point before we continue. One of the things that Dr. McNabb mentioned is that, and this is something that we think about subconsciously, but it's very important to actually vocalize it, is that time management, and when you talk about being a productive person, it's not something that happens by starting a habit today. That's where it begins, but it has to continue, and it's a lifelong development of skills and habits and behaviors that are going to follow you and be adapted to your different situations and your different circumstances as you move forward throughout life. And one of the things that Dr. McNabb mentioned was that we oftentimes don't think about it as this kind of lifelong journey. This something that we're going to have to keep up with and adapt and change as our environment changes and as our circumstances change. So I appreciate you bringing that up when I came in. So back to organization. One of the things that I found is really effective for me is a to-do list. So when I start my day, I have a to-do list of all the things that I'm going to do. Inside of that to-do list, I start to prioritize the things that are going to be most important for me. A lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people and coached a lot of people on how to prioritize. There are several different methods out there. The method that really works for me is the consequential method. So I look at what are the consequences if I don't do something. And if the consequences are not something I want to deal with, it goes to the top of the priority list. If I'm okay with the consequences, then it gets bumped down. And the more okay I am with the consequences, the more likely it is that it's going to get bumped off of my to-do list. So that's how we separate important tasks from urgent tasks. So a lot of times somebody will send you a text message or send you an email, and for them, it's very urgent that you get back to them. It may not fall very high on your priority list, but because they place that urgency on you, you feel like, oh, well, I have to do this right now. I have to take care of this. The reality of it is that oftentimes tasks that are important are generally not urgent. If they are urgent, then that means that we've made a misstep somewhere before that task became urgent. So, for instance, somebody walks into my office and they want to talk to me right now and I'm in the middle of a project, then for them that's urgent. They want to make it urgent for me and they want me to stop what I'm doing so I can talk to them. It's not an urgent task for me. I'm going to ask them to come back in 30 minutes when I'm done with what I'm working on. Now, conversely, if my boss gives me an assignment that's due on Friday of next week, and I procrastinate and don't work on it until Thursday, that becomes an important and urgent task, but only because I didn't do what I needed to do beforehand in order to prepare myself to get the things in on time. Guys tracking with me? Mm-hmm. One. All right. So, the other piece to getting organized that I still struggle with now is finishing things to 100% every single time. So as I look around the room and there are doctors and scholars and people who have excelled in every single arena that they've ever been in, the thing about people like us, I'm just going to throw myself in there. The thing about people like us is that 80% is easy, right? You guys agree with me? Like what might take someone else a long time, what might be difficult for someone else, for people like us, it's kind of easy. And for people like us, in most settings, we can do 80% or 85% and get by with it. And people think, oh, good job, thank you, I appreciate it. But the reality of it is, if we start to finish things at 100% and make that a very consistent behavior, then it's going to propel you and it's going to set you apart from your peers. It's going to set you apart from the people that you will eventually work with. It'll set you apart from the applicants that you'll be going up against when you're interviewing for positions. If you make that one habit, the habit that you focus on for the rest of your time here at Virginia Tech or whatever you're working on, that right there will make a huge difference, a life-changing difference in what you're doing. Finish every task to 100%. All right. Yes?
Can I ask questions?
Yeah, please.
Do you recommend getting rid of things on a task list that you know you cannot do at 100%? Like if I say, I can only do this 50% of my time, and I already know that beforehand.
Sure.
Don't even jump into it?
Well, what I would say is this. Are you comfortable with putting a 50% product out there with your name on it?
Well, no.
So I wouldn't tackle it at all. I would find a way to co-op it with someone else. I would find a way to delegate it to someone else. I would find, if there's a piece inside of the project that I can do really well, I know that I can do better than anyone else, maybe I'll take that piece and then find a team of 3 other people that can help me finish the project. But for me, and it's tough because a lot of times it's, I want to help this person, or I really like that professor and they asked me to do X, Y, Z and I want to help out, but the reality of it is you're going to feel better, you're going to have more self-confidence, you're going to feel better about the time that you spent and about yourself in general if you put out a great product every time you go to work, every time you're in the lab, every time you're working on whatever it is. If you put out 100% product, you're going to have a higher self-esteem, you're going to be more healthy, you're not going to be stressed out. But as soon as you start to put out product that is 70% of what you're capable of, 50% of what you're capable of, that product still has your name attached to it. That product still has your name attached to it. So whoever is the recipient of that product, whoever's the consumer of that product, is going to see that Siobhan put out this product and it's not really what I would expect from Siobhan. and your name is attached to that now. So to answer your question shortly, I would say absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have to set those boundaries for yourself to say, if I can't give it 100% and finish it to my standard, then I'm not going to do it at all. So that's a really good question. It's a really good question. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask them. So the next one is plan ahead. Oh, wait a second. That's not it. Hold on. What is going on here? We got that. I apologize. There we go. Plan ahead. Plan everything. A thing that changed my life when I first started into learning about time management, personal productivity, is planning the next day the day before. Seems so simple, right? I know that a lot of times I would go to bed at night and my mind would just be racing with things I had to do the next day. Oh man, I know I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I can't forget that, I gotta pick that up, yada, yada, yada. Simple as keeping a notebook next to my bed on my nightstand and jotting down the things that I have to do that are rattling around in my head. I sleep like a baby. And the crazy thing is that problems that you're trying to work through, oftentimes you'll wake up and the solution is right there. I don't know how that works. Maybe somebody should do some research on it. I would buy your book. But it's crazy how subconsciously we can work through issues in our sleep. So just writing down the things that you're going to do the next day can increase your productivity by a landslide. But the other thing is, it sets you up in a position where you are prepared to now plan your week a week in advance. You're prepared to now plan your month a month in advance. You're starting those foundational pieces that are going to set you up for planning yourself out, so that when someone says, Siobhan, can you work on this project for me? You already know, you already said no. I'm not gonna say it. You already know 2 months out, I have these 3 deadlines coming up. And it's not a matter of shuffling through, papers and shuffling through your calendar. It's a matter of, I already know, because I plan ahead, I'm planning my days ahead. I know what large projects I'm working on every single day. And then working through that list that you developed right before you fell asleep, and working through that list first thing in the morning, tackling the hardest thing, the most difficult task first thing in the morning. So plan everything, plan ahead for everything. The other thing about planning ahead is, when you plan ahead, it gives you margin, right? So we talked about margin a little bit, but a piece of paper, a piece of loose leaf paper has margins on the side. Why does it have margins on the side? You don't use paper anymore?
Keep you inside of the lines.
What do you say?
Keep you inside of the lines.
Keep you inside the lines. It keeps you from running off the page, right? But oftentimes we don't put margin in our life when we're thinking about what we have to do in a day. We leave no margin and we run right off the page. And we end up stressed, we end up frustrated, we don't get things done. So planning ahead gives you the opportunity to have margin in what you're doing. The other thing that planning ahead does, and this again goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning, is having an allotted time to work on tasks. There's a book out right now called 18 Minutes. This book basically says that if you devote 18 minutes a day to any particular task, you're going to be more productive than anyone else around you, just from that 18 minutes per day. I haven't tried it, I don't know if it's true, but I know that for me, I oftentimes work in spurts, right? So I get this whim, I'm like, I'm gonna knock that project out. I get about 30% of the way through, I'm like, woo, I'm tired, it's a break. And then it's 2 weeks before I come back to it. So I know that if I did take on the attitude of, if I would just work on this 18 minutes per day, 18 minutes is not overwhelming, 18 minutes is not gonna kill me, I can find 18 minutes, do it 18 minutes a day, I probably will get through those projects a lot faster. That makes sense, right? So when we're thinking about planning ahead, allocate the time, the amount of time that you're gonna work on different projects, and then hold yourself to that amount of time. So if you're gonna work on something for 30 minutes, work on it for 30 minutes. You may not complete it, but you've held yourself inside of the constraint. You're, again, developing those habits and those patterns that are gonna make you more productive in the long run. Let's see if we can get, let's see. This thing is just fighting me. You guys don't know how hard I worked on this present. All right, the next one, stop wasting time. So, biggest time waster, everyone probably either has it in their pocket or in their purse right now. biggest time waster. And for several reasons. One of them is, and I talked about this last time, so if you already know the answer, don't scream it out just because you already know. Overachievers in here. So how many of you guys have a phone that you can check your email on? You do? Okay, okay. So when an email comes in, what happens?
You check it.
What? You check it? How do you know it's there?
Because it lets me know.
It lets you know how?
A little ring.
Little ring? Every time you get an email?
Yep.
How many of your emails do you think are urgent? Like a percentage?
I don't know. There's a sale on Express right now.
Very important. It's time limited. That would fall into the urgent category. I agree. Did they have the 1MX shirts? So, this is one of the hugest time wasters is this phone, because what happens is about 20% of the email that we get is actually email that we need to look at, right? The rest of it we throw away, the rest of it we trash or whatever. But about 20% of it, but the phone goes off every single time you get an email. The average person gets 175 emails a day, including spam. Now, that's just on what would be your school email or your work email. If you add on a personal email onto that, that jumps up to 224 emails in a day. So if you check your messages every time that little phone goes off, and let's just say it takes 30 seconds. What's 30 times 224? I don't know either, but it's a lot. So, huge time waster, right? So what I've done is I've taken the notifications off on my phone. As a matter of fact, my phone doesn't even automatically pick up email. What happens is when I want to check email, which is at 12 and at 6, I open up my phone, I hit the refresh button, I get all of my emails. Delete, 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 delete. 20% that I need to read is there. Then I close my phone. The reason why is because I can't actually do work from my phone. Sometimes I think I can, but I actually can't. I don't have everything in front of me that I need to do the work and handle those 20% of emails. So I delete the trash so that when I do sit in front of my email and I'm able to focus on it, the trash is out of the way, I can focus on the 20% that matters, and I can do those things, I can enter in those time demands and make sure that I get them taken care of. So other time wasters, anybody think of any? Just right off the top of your head.
Facebook.
You go to answer with Facebook. So Facebook, right? Some people get time demands on Facebook, but how much of your time on Facebook is actually productive?
None.
Are people actually doing productive things on Facebook?
Yes.
Who is?
I love
Facebook? Okay, great. So, the thing I would say about that is that I have a couple of groups that I'm in that use Facebook as communication tools as well. And what I've told them is that I cannot participate in the group on Facebook. That we're going to have to find a better way, because there are too many distractions for me. That's just me personally. There's just so many distractions that are coming through on Facebook. We're supposed to be having a group meeting, or I'm supposed to be reading a post about whatever we're working on next. And I'm over here trying to figure out what Laura, who I went to high school with, why her dog is on the couch. It doesn't make any sense. So, stop wasting time is another one. Just two more real quick is that one of the things that I was notorious for was just chilling. And you guys just chill. So just chilling is a huge time waster. And the reason why I felt like I could just chill because I had worked so hard that it was, I had earned the right to just relax, just veg out, watch Lost. I like Lost. Watch Heroes. I like Heroes, right? So the thing that I realized was that time, that unproductive time that I spent doing absolutely nothing, I regretted it later. Because I look back at the next task that I could have been working on, and I'm like, damn, now I'm behind. Heroes wasn't even that great. I'm still alive. So when I look back at the things that I could have been working on during that time where I was just chilling and refreshing myself and all these things that I deserve, I realized that I'm actually doing myself a discredit by taking that time out and just chill when I could have, taken a 15-minute break and gone right back to the next task that was going to be important for me. So Am I running out of time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
All right, no problem. So I'll just go ahead and wrap up here. The one thing that I do want you guys to see is if you do these 3 things, what happens is you get more awesomer. So just those 3 things, if you can take anything from those three points and apply them, I would say apply one thing starting today, whether it be the email on your phone or how you utilize Facebook or just allotting time. Like I'm going to check Facebook for 30 minutes rather than it just being a constant thing that I'm checking throughout the day. But think about the notifications on your phone. Think about how you're organized, how your space is organized, how your car is organized, your brain, your planner, your computer. Take one of those things and apply it as just a micro application of that thing and do it consistently every day. And I promise you'll see leaps and bounds in your productivity and what you're able to get done in a day, in a week, and in your time here at Virginia Tech.